Hello, hello, IG family. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Welcome to Healing Conversations. IG, let the tribe know they were mentioned up in here. Tag, you are it.
Hey,
Sister
hey.
Angelique. Welcome,
Yes,
welcome.
good to see you in space.
Happy Saturday. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. How we feeling? Welcome, y'all, to Healing Conversations. Where we talk all things expansion, growth, and empowerment. And in this space, I feel like I work through so much because I bring a lot of my real life situations to the conversation, and I have my own healing from what I share, what I hear, and just the exchanges of energy that we have.
Yes. Hello, Anne. Hello, Linda.
Hello.
Stick around. My name is Angelique. If you don't know who I am, different Angelique than we talk about on the live. And I also love this space so much because it allows me to open up. It allows me to have more awareness of where I am and what I'm navigating and things that I don't even know I'm navigating. So I always appreciate when you all chime in and you give your insights and your questions. That really does help to open up the conversation and expand all of us. This is a community space. I do spiritual coaching. I am an artist. I'm a youth mental wellness advocate. And I really love doing this work. And I always like to say that just because Raymel and I have been in this work for some time and you feel like you might be new, that doesn't mean that you don't have something valuable to add, right? So just really want to encourage you all to share your journey and be here in the space, this unconditional, loving, non judgmental, beautiful, safe
Yes.
space. Thank you. Thank you.
Come as you are, where you are,
Hmm.
and being who you are is what we always invite into this space, this safe space. You're pulling it off. I would have liked that if it was a different face. The face, the head, it all makes everything come to life,
Bring it all
right?
together. It's
Oh my
collective.
goodness. But today we're going to really go into a conversation that I feel like is going to support us as a collective because during this time we're in, it's what we call the holiday season. And this is where a lot of triggers come up, a lot of old patterns come up, a lot of old wounds are brought up that have not been healed. And there's a lot of pain and hurt that is trying to come up and come through so it could help you heal those old wounds and allow yourself to be in the space of wholeness, complete, and compassion as you're in the exchanges of being in the space of family. Um, and I always share, lead by example. I've been having a lot of expansion and growth in my personal relationships with my family that has taken some time to get to. And growing up in a space where there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of trauma that people are not speaking of, are doing the work on, it has a lot of dysfunction that creates this separation because for me, I know I will be in family gatherings and there will always be the numbing of alcohol, which created the arguments, created the fights, created what wasn't said, coming to life, and it's just done in a hurtful, painful way. And it's made me have this closed off place of wanting to connect with family. And if I'm being honest, comparing myself to others and their family experiences and having this expectation of who my family should be, how my family should be, what they should be based on what I was seeing from those who I was wanting to be like. Um, and it caused me to judge, it caused me to cut off, it caused me to not want to engage. with my family because I was judging them. I was expecting them to show up a certain way because of the title mother, father, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, cousin, all the labels. I was expecting them to be a certain way and do things a certain way and show up a certain way in order for them to be what I expected. And if they showed up any other way outside of that expectation, I wronged them. I found myself judging them. I felt disconnected from them because I didn't feel as though they were honoring my expectations. Let that sink in because not even honoring my needs, which is a whole different thing,
Very different thing.
but
Yeah.
honoring my expectations of who and how and what they should be, which in the time before I got on the journey of healing, that seemed valid. It seemed right. It seemed like you're taking a stance and you're making a empowered move by holding these expectations. And if they don't reach the bar of it, cut them off, let them go. They're not meant to be. But as I've done the work of healing and really start to release my own hurt, pain, self judgment, unworthiness, and all the things that I've accumulated based on what I wasn't taught and familiar with releasing and expressing, I'm able to go into the encounters with family from a blank canvas. And when I say blank canvas, is going with the openness of getting to know versus thinking I know who and what they are. And me and my mother have been building, and I share this like with excitement and gratitude because that has been a lot of hurdles that we've had to really go over, and at times I felt defeated by. We are making more movement in the direction of connection and gaining understanding of wanting to understand and exchange energy with each other. Um, and I think for so long I held this story of I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm not enough. And it's been two experiences that I've had, but it's made me have this story that my mother doesn't love me because at 14 she chose her husband over me, so she doesn't love me, she abandoned me, she rejected me, and that's where I just held on to this belief of. As I've started to do my own work of releasing that unworthiness and all the things, the truth is she does love me. I don't have to question, I don't have to guess, I don't have to wonder. I know that that love is there and I know that that love is real, but I wasn't able to tap into it or even connect with it when I was stuck in the connection of what I wanted to believe. Because it gave me that sense of protection. It gave me that sense of safety. If she's over there and I'm over here and I have this story about who she is and what she is, anytime that she hurts me, I'm able to justify and validate why I don't mess with her, why I don't connect with her. Because I know this truth about her is that she doesn't love me. But it wasn't the truth. It was a lie that my mind kept me stuck in because I wasn't honoring the feelings that I was holding in within myself. As within, so without, where you are internally is what you'll see externally. So I couldn't see the love when I was still internally believing that there wasn't love. Okay, IG, let them know. So I don't want to go too much in depth. I want to just leave it open, but where I'm just going to land it is as we start to get into the place of doing our own work for one, because it all starts with self, then we're able to be open, not to put our finger in the socket and get electrocuted. Meaning, if we know that there's just environments that we're not ready to be in, or they're not ready to be open within themselves to have those openness of listening and gain their own understanding, don't put yourself in the fire, but also be open just to get to know what something can be, who someone may be, and not expect them to be what you want them to be. Because when you expect something from anyone, always truly expect to be disappointed.
Yes. And just to that last point you shared, like, don't go into the fire, but also recognize that you might be holding a can of gasoline. Like
Mm-hmm.
Raymel was saying, um, there was a season when he wasn't doing this work, when he didn't have this self reflection. He was still swimming in his unworthiness, his unlovability. But until he was able to actually clear that out and remove those rocks from his river, right? And turn his gasoline into water, he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't able to go into that space. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
able to have those types of conversations, right? He wasn't able to begin mending this relationship because he still had that story in his mind. But once he began to shift it internally, that strength and that courage and that openness came forward. And that began the healing for both of them. You know, Raymel, and I'm not here to share his whole story, but he shared before how his mom isn't really into the work, but sometimes she has her moments, and it's beautiful because as the child of someone, we do have these expectations of
Mm-hmm.
what a parent should be or what a sibling should be, or, family should be. And I'll kind of keep it on that vein since that's like the theme. Um, and like you said, we get disappointed so deeply.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's easy and it's also deep. It's like getting a paper cut. Like it just happens so quick, but it hurts so much. And you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, why did this happen to me? That's expectation. Expectations are
Mm-hmm.
paper cut. And it's just like that phrase of like dying by a thousand paper cuts. Like you
Mm-hmm.
will find yourself depleted and drained and dead on the inside if you keep running around the world with expectations. They'll just keep slicing you up bit by bit, bit by bit, and then you'll be covered in all this disappointment and be like, why is my life like this? Did you check to see why you're expecting life to be this way? Did you check what your expectations were? And something that's been roaming around my atmosphere recently is just really examining where expectations come from. Like when we are growing up, and I'll speak more for myself now since it's my turn to speak, but when I was growing up, I went to private school. And our family was like lower middle class, so we were able to afford it. But some people were like upper middle class, and they had like these big old houses and Great Danes, and their families like own businesses and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm here. I get to be here and sit in class with you, Um, and there were moments when I would start to see people's lives and the experiences that they got to have, and then compare them with my own life and be like, hmm, we're sitting in class together. My grades might be better than theirs, you know what I mean? But they're having this whole different life experience over here. And it seems better. It seems better. And I had to be mindful even in that like young age in like middle school and high school, um, excuse me, of not getting too deep into that and still being grateful that I was able to have certain opportunities that I was able to have, because I did have the gift of observation from a very young age, and I recognized that even people with those certain means and access to things, a lot of times they were irritated and sad or angry or didn't have good communication with their parents, or there was just a lot of other things that go along with it. And so I kind of had this double-edged sword expectation of if things are better materially, they might not be better like emotionally. And I was already navigating some challenges at my material level in the emotional realm. So I was like, if that's not going to make it better, then I don't want to really envy that, you know, but it still gave me that kind of comparison energy. You feel me? And I also want to bring up how, especially during the holidays, these holiday movies, y'all, be extra. And they can build expectations in us as well, just as easily. TV shows and now social media, you know, all of these things of like people showing you, oh, we have a 12-foot tree and it has gold tinsel, like literal gold on it. And we have piles and piles of presents, and we have this fat ham and this big old spread, and everybody's on the Christmas card wearing the same sweater and smiling together. Oh my gosh, my family should be just like this. And we don't even realize that it's happening. We're just seeing something that we admire, that we find beautiful, and we're like, wow, I want that. That would be nice if I had that. And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I'm aligned with this, I'm attracted to this. It's the other undertone feelings of unworthiness and comparison and judgment and differentness and otherness. Because when we see something, and this is something that I am learning and processing, right? Again, I'm not speaking from some high mighty place. You feel me? I'm not perfect in this, you feel me? But when we see something and it aligns with us, that is a signal from our soul that we are capable and we have the right to enjoy that. However, if we're going with those undercurrents of unworthiness and lack and separation, it just pushes it further away from us. And we stay in this state of like looking behind the window where we're like, wow, look in there. They got all that cool stuff over here, but I'm bumping up against this window and I can't get in there. But guess what? You can. And it's here and it's in the world and it's available for you. It's about, again, that openness and that willingness to allow yourself to release all of the little resentments and the judgments and the comparisons so that you can really tap into the alignment with it. But yeah, I feel like I kind of unpacked quite a bit there, so I'll let it
And I
there.
love that you brought it into that because I always like to unpack and bring awareness to why even that window exists for many. Because a lot of times we don't know, and we keep bumping against what we don't know is there because the window is see
We're
through.
just like,
You can't see it, you just hit it. And then it makes you feel depleted,
mm,
helpless, and hopeless. So I want to just unpack real quick where that window comes from.
mm,
When we are in that place of our childhood, we start to accumulate. And I always like to read because I feel like I say this, but I say it in a new way, in a different way, in the same way every time. But our mind holds on to everything it sees, it hears, and it experiences. And that becomes the photo album that it just starts to collect those moments that it experienced. The body holds the emotions.
mm,
I think a lot of times we get lost in the mental of life that we forget that we are vibrational beings and that emotions, energy, that emotion that's in motion is sourced within us.
mm,
So a lot of us we hold on to, as Sister Angelique was saying, those under layers of unworthiness, abandonment, self-doubt, self-judgment, and we're stuck in the feeling of those.
mm,
So when we're looking in the space of trying to even see anything outside of what we are familiar with that the mind has accumulated, it's hard to see and believe and feel anything outside of what we are used to in regards to the unworthiness, the abandonment, the rejection, the self-judgment. So we find ourselves in the alignment of people, things, and situations that activate those feelings for us.
mm,
And that's where we stay in what we call the known. So if I grew up and I knew that there wasn't money, I knew that we weren't getting presents, I knew there wasn't going to be a big tree. There may be a fake tree that
mm.
had
Little
some
Charlie
stuff,
Brown.
a little baby little tree, but that becomes what I know, what I stay in the belief of that is possible for me. So now throughout my life, I'm just stuck in this idea that, well, I can't afford, I can't have,
Mm,
I can't experience.
mm,
And the fact that I believe it, there's a feeling that I'm attached to. So even if I see those things and they may be obtainable, that glass is the feeling
mm,
that I'm not able to break through because I haven't let it release from myself. So that's where I'm stuck hitting against this invisible glass because I'm not allowing that feeling, that emotion to flow through. Because a lot of times we get lost in let me figure it out. Let me get into the analytics to know why it is,
fix
how
it.
it is, what it is,
Mm,
and we avoid feeling
mm,
what needs to come out and be released. And that feeling is me feeling the sadness of unworthiness, me feeling the anger of unworthiness, me feeling the whatever that feeling may be for you.
mm,
We run, we hide, we numb, we avoid, we hit the glass that we feel stuck and trapped in. So I want to unpack that because a lot of times we get lost and so I can't figure it out. I'm reading the books, I'm watching the podcast, I'm watching healing conversations, I'm doing all the things, but I'm not feeling like I can break through the glass.
mm,
I'm not feeling. That's where we get lost because we don't feel.
mm,
And until you feel, you can't heal. So that wound is still open. And that becomes your point of attraction. Your point of attraction means you can only manifest things that make you feel abandoned, unworthy, rejected, not accepted, lackful, doubtful, and you get stuck in a cycle. So we have the ability to break through that glass to get into the store because once you break through the glass, you realize that you are the store.
okay.
You are the vending machine. You select what it is that you want. You see it in your mind. You hold that image. You see that image. It creates a feeling in your body. So now it's not there, but it's here. It's now. And so it is. It has to be.
Mhm.
And that's where now we can get into the expectation that all of our needs will always be met. The expectation that life is always working with me and never against me. The expectation that I can create, have, do, be anything that I desire. So we can use expectation in an empowering way,
Yes.
but we have to release the lower vibrational things that are keeping us in those lower expectations, meaning this thing
Mhm.
outside of me I can control. And if I can't control it, then I'm not happy. Then I'm not prosperous. Then I'm not joyful. And that's where we stay in the expectations of the lower vibrations.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm glad that you brought up the expectations being able to serve us.
Hmm.
You know how Abraham Hicks talks about segment intending is basically setting up positive expectations for your day, saying, I'm going to go through traffic and it's going to be a breeze, or I'm going to go to work and, things are going to be productive and satisfying, right? Like setting up your energy set point so that you have a good day positively with positive expectations. And I think what snags us, or at least what has snagged me, is not wanting to have my positive expectations crushed.
Mm.
I remember very vividly as a child, speaking of like Christmas, um, I would ask for a puppy. Like every Christmas, every birthday, every Easter, every 4th of July,
Any holiday, can I get a puppy?
any holiday at all. And I grew up around some people who thought they were funny. And I would get like puppy cards, puppy magnets, and those little robot puppies that go around and like, duck, duck, duck.
In reality, you
And,
got what you wanted, a puppy.
you know, and that's what they would say. It's like, here's your puppy. I'm like, bruh, I put the specific picture of what I wanted. You feel me? This ain't what I wanted. And I recognized as I got older, actually very recently, maybe like a couple months ago, how that strong desire constantly getting like put down and like sarcastically met, it built up this um, I guess like anxiety is the word. That's the word that's coming to me. Anxiety around having expectations.
Mm,
Like if I do want something and I do say like, "Oh, I'm gonna get it," because you know when you're a child, you're like, "It's coming. I know it. I know it." She didn't do it the last 85 times,
mhm,
but I really feel like it's coming. Um, but then you become an adult, and by that time you're just like, yeah, it's not here.
it ain't
It ain't here, and
coming.
if it is coming, then I gotta get it. Um, and then that comes with a whole bunch of other things. But by that time, that seed is already planted. Of if I want something, no matter how bad I want it, it's not going to be fulfilled. I'm not gonna get it.
Mm,
Um, I'm not responsible enough. I don't have enough money. I'm not worthy. All these different little weeds that start to get planted in the garden, right? And it's something that I had to, like Ramel said, like really feel it. Just really tap into myself and say, oh, that actually fucked me up.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
that's literally the best term I can use right now. It fucked me up. And in such a like sly, insidious way that I had been brushing over for years and years and years until I finally had this aha moment one day like, yo, why do I have such a hard time with creating positive expectations? Like, what is this? And Spirit is like, you have a fear of crushed expectations. And this is where it came from. I was like, yo, you right.
mhm,
You are right. And I had to allow myself to be in that feeling. I was like, yeah, that did suck. That did suck. And it hurt. And I felt betrayed and I felt lied to. And I felt like this person wasn't taking me seriously. They didn't believe in me. But at the end of the day, that was just my feeling about it. There could have been so many other conditions and things going on, but I had built this story within myself that all of these other parts of it were the reason, the only reason, the
mhm,
main reason. Nothing else is going on, just what I'm feeling in myself. But that's the beauty about being an adult who is willing to reflect because as a child, again, you're just going through life experience. Like those first 7 years, you're just like, I don't even know where I'm at. I'm just picking stuff up like gobbling, just like blah, 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 blah,
mhm,
experience, expectations, emotions, just gobbling everything up. And then, especially during my kind of childhood, I think that's when this started. Like, you're just busy. School activities, sports, friendships, wanting to go to movies, just like busy, 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 getting ready for high school, getting ready for college. Like, there's so much pressure going on. You don't even have the time to really sit and see who you're becoming. You feel me? And that's why I love so much that I came into this work um, in my mid 20s because it allowed me to really sit and see who I had become from all of that. Before I got into my 40s and my 50s and my 60s, and I'm like, my life isn't what I want it to be, and I'm feeling cynical, and everybody is trash. I could have kept carrying that. I
mhm,
could have kept carrying that, but um, just through the beauty of life, I was led to all the different books and podcasts and conferences and seminars and things, and I was open to it, and I've been willing to do the work. Like Ramil, again, you have to sit and feel it. You have to be willing to face and embrace it, you know? And I think that's where a lot of us can get caught up in this work and in this industry, in this modality of healing, is we read and we go to these places and we have our spiritual practice and we're meditating, we're praying, and we're doing this community service stuff. But if we're not sitting and really being with ourselves, nothing is gonna get unpacked or released because you're just doing. It's just stuff. It's not actual work.
Mm.
And I know that it can seem intimidating because we aren't taught to do that. We're taught to numb, to run, to hide, to shove things under the rug. And building that muscle takes time and self compassion. And it also takes the willingness, because we all have the ability. It takes the willingness to allow yourself to feel whatever sensations are going on in your body, whatever tears, whatever laughter, whatever heart racing, frustration, really allowing yourself to feel that. And the beautiful thing is that when you do study these books and these podcasts and these thought leaders, it allows you to know that that isn't all that you are. You're not going to get stuck there in perpetuity forever, but you have to allow yourself to feel it for whatever the moment wants to be felt. And yeah, I'll just kind of land that there.
I want to, when we say feel it, I want to break it down a little more just so people can understand, because I feel like a lot of people, they are afraid to feel because they feel like they will get stuck in the feeling and it will just be something that they can't get out of. But I want to give like a example of something that we all do that could show like how when energy wants to pass through. And when I say feeling, think of it like, and this is what it comes to mind, it's like I got to burp. Now, if I have to burp, the burp needs to come through. I can hold it in, which means it's now going to go down to my chest and there's going to be discomfort. And that's what we call gas. And now that gas starts to spread and I feel tightness, I feel dis-ease in my body. But it doesn't mean that that burp isn't going to pass. Now I'm just building up more gas within myself. Exactly. I build up more gas within myself. And now, instead of me being able to intentionally release the burp by honoring it as it's coming up, now it's moved into a fart. Let's just call it what it is. So now I'm in the elevator with an elevator full of people. And now this gas is like, I need to come out. This energy needs to come out. You can't control it. It's just gonna do what it needs to do. And now it's coming out of me. And now I'm looking like, oh my God, they heard it, they smelled it. We're in the elevator. And now I'm stuck in the embarrassment of the release that I could have done intentionally. But now, as energy is always in movement, it came out in its natural form. And to take it out of the burp and the fart and bring it into life, if I honor the feeling as it comes up, if I'm feeling sadness and I honor sadness by crying, by just being just still and just breathing, now I'm honoring the release of the energy, the emotion that wants to pass through. But if I don't honor the sadness, the anger, the pain, I'm going to be in environments that are going to trigger those feelings.
Hey, Charlotte.
Hey, Charlotte, that's going to trigger those feelings. And just like being on the elevator, you didn't burp, it went into the chest, created more gas, and now it came out when you didn't want it to. That's when now the trigger from whatever those environment situations or people are activating within me, the reaction comes out. Now I've took my hurt, my sadness, my anger, and my pain, and I project it out. That's what we're experiencing, where a lot of people are just farting on everybody with their emotions because they're not doing it intentionally by honoring it as it's coming up. So now they're doing it unconsciously, but consciously. because I'm consciously not honoring, but I'm unconsciously releasing.
Mm. Can I add something to that?
Mm-hmm.
What came up for me with that is how if you try to hold in the fart,
Mm-hmm.
because you're in an elevator and you don't want to be embarrassed, then that is disrupting the natural function of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like having irritable bowel syndrome, and your kidneys are all messed up, and your lungs are all messed up, your heart is congested, and like all these other things are going on because you weren't willing to let that burp out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead
It
of
all
just,
started with a bird.
it all started with a burp, just a little bit. You didn't want to burp because, oh no, I don't want to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like going through all this process and stuff, and now you're like stuck in this elevator, you feel like even more tension, and then you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you have whatever disorder. And you're like, where does this come from? What do you mean? It came from you not honoring your body.
Mm-hmm.
It came from you not being present with what naturally wanted to take place. But yeah, that was coming up for me because that's where a lot of disease in the body comes from unexpressed energies.
And that's where I just wanted to bring it into that term to something that we all do naturally, that we know naturally just happens, because that's literally how an emotion is. It naturally just wants to come up and pass.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
It just want to come up, release, clear space.
Mm-hmm.
Come up, release, clear space.
It's so crazy how we're taught emotions are unnatural. Like, especially, in the color community.
Well, I was taught boys don't cry, so hold it
Taught not to
in,
cry
don't let
either.
it
I'm a
out.
girl.
And that's where that idea that it's not safe to cry, it's not okay to cry, made me hold in my tears, made me hold in my sadness, and that created anger. And I was erupting the lava of unexpressed emotions, unreleased tears onto others. And it was because of the lack of control I had over it, because what builds up has to explode out. And that's where a lot of times we're seeing these reactions, are having these reactions, but we're unaware where it's stemming from and why it is coming out so strong and uncontrollable. And as we're inviting you to feel and honor your emotions, you don't have to just pour it all out at once. So that's where it will feel overwhelming, and it will feel like the dam that just doesn't stop flooding. But that's where if you let a little tear, a little, you start to build the momentum of knowing, okay, it's safe.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that bad. Okay, I can do this. And then when something comes up, a little more. And then a little more. And then you start to get used to it, familiar with it. And then you now get into the rhythm of it. And through that rhythm, now you're in the practice.
Yeah.
And that practice becomes something you default to versus being the reaction oriented person that is just out of control and letting your external world dictate what your internal state of being is. And that's where you're living a life of disempowerment. That's where you're living a life being a slave to people, things, and situations, saying that they hold the power and I can't do, be, or express in a way that's aligned in honoring me. So that's where I just want to bring that into it, because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know because of the lack of awareness. But once you know, you can't unknow. So I'm always going to let you know. So you have the awareness, and then you have what Sister Angelique was saying, the choice and the will to put it to practice.
And I love how you just said you can default to practice instead of reaction. And I think for myself, that has been one of the most beneficial adjustments I made in my experience of life, where before I would just get triggered and not know what to do about it. I was definitely a hold it inner. You feel me? I'm like, I'm not gonna let this bother me, but really it's bothering me. Really it's bothering me very much.
Mhm.
And then that would feed into like inner irritation and judgment and just frustration about the world in general, about myself in general. But now that I have this awareness, that feeling my, not even just the awareness, the experience.
And the tools.
Yeah, actually practicing again, just actually practicing honoring myself and building that muscle of expressing my feelings and knowing that I'm safe. Um, that has helped me tremendously. And it is my default now. It is my default now when I feel some sort of irritation or frustration come up because guess what? Life still lives.
People with people.
And people be people and we all have this choices and we get to do whatever we want, okay? But now instead of getting frustrated or irritated or like fake unbothered, I say, okay, I'm feeling irritation, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling disappointed, I'm feeling disrespected, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, or even like I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling good. I feel enthusiastic. I feel like this is ridiculous,
Mhm.
just acknowledging myself and what is naturally coming up. Because, again, and I really want to make sure you all catch this and understand this, emotions are natural. Emotions are natural. Emotions are natural. And no matter what anybody has conditioned you to believe or has blamed or shamed you or guilted you into, your emotions are natural. And it's okay to feel them. I help out with this organization, it's a youth organization, and we asked them recently um, how confident do you feel about expressing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions? And boy, oh boy, brought up a lot, brought up a lot. And these young people were sharing how unsafe it felt to cry, to feel angry, to feel confused. And it just made me realize like, this is a human disorder. Like this is, all different types of cultures and things, you feel me? But it's a human disorder and like dysfunction of society where we keep putting on these beautiful, like straight from source beings, out the womb, young children, toddlers, adolescents, preteens, putting it on them that their emotions are not valid, that they are unnatural, that they shouldn't be feeling them. And then we wonder why they pop off. We wonder why they are disrespectful. We wonder why they're out here stabbing and shooting and thieving because they don't have the support to really feel what they're feeling. And guess what? This has been through the generations. Cause some of y'all watching this has some, things going on. You listen. Some of
Mhm.
us,
Mhm.
some of us has things going on, and we just become adults and we're like, oh yeah, it's just because I was a young person and I was just wilding out. But now I'm mature and I know how to handle myself. But meanwhile, you're still suppressing your anger. You're still suppressing your sadness. And I was turning into heart disease and, inflammation of your colon and cancers and all these
Mhm.
different things because you still haven't gone through and done that
But
work.
then they say, but it's in our genes.
It's genetic. It's
Lie,
hereditary.
lie, lie, and
But the
lie.
only thing that has actually been getting passed down is this idea that our emotions shouldn't be felt or expressed. But if we would acknowledge that, we would clear up so many things, y'all. We could clear up so much stuff and have so much healing. I know there's a lot of talk going around about the health insurance people and all of that stuff going on these days because of the news. But guess what? Giving them too much power, y'all. We don't even need to be in these doctor's offices like that. For real, for real. We can really be investing in ourselves, in our healing, in our wholeness, and not even be concerned about these fools. And making up these rules that don't serve people because it all begins within. It all begins again. And again, emotions are natural and how to.
And I love that because it was it's in alignment with something I wanted to bring to the space. And it's just through awareness. This is not to villainize or paint a picture of like demons and all of that, but we just want to have the awareness that the world that we live in, they how hold the power that they do because of the systems that they created to keep us under control. And how do they keep people under control is controlling their mental state, their emotional state, which creates the reactions that the people have with what they throw their way. So everything that we were taught was learned through previous experiences of our parents, their parents, their parents. And this world that we live in, it's I won't say it's created, but it's created a system and a narrative that there's a limitation of things, that people are separated based on their labels, their genders, and all the expectations that they create of what you should be by a certain age, how you should be, who you should marry, the families and all. Like there's these expectations, bringing it back to the original conversation of what this world has taught for us. And this belief that we have to live up to it, this mental control that if I don't, then I'm not. If I don't have, then I can never be. So there's this mental control that this world keeps a lot of people under this hypnosis of belief that this is how it is, this is the only way it can be, and if it's not this way, then you're wrong, they're right, you're going to hell, yada yada yada. And that's just where a lot of people are lost in this feeling like they are experiencing mental health in a unhealthy way because they're over consuming the pollution, the poison that this world is continuously serving us. And then they're keeping you in a deregulated state emotionally. So they keep you in this reaction of there's a war here, there's drama here, there's chaos here. But then they tell you if you have a wanted to express, there's a punishment here. There's a repercussion here. So people feel as though if I express, I don't want to deal with the repercussion or the consequence. So let me suppress. I'll hold it in. Or I'll hold on and talk about it in environments of people who are feeling the same way so we can vent, but get lost in a complaint of why they hold the power and we don't. And now they have you in this spell under this control. And that's where our generations or our parents' generations and their parents' generations, they just been under this spell for decades and decades. So that's where I just wanted to bring that into it because through that awareness, now we can see that it's not even because for me, I used to villainize like, well, why my mom didn't do this? And why? And it's like, but it's not why they didn't do. It's just I get to break the cycle. I get to change the trajectory. I get to introduce my parents and family to the awareness that you hold the power. You hold the control. And the more people that people know they hold power, that they hold control. Exactly, Charlotte. Bear with the news. As long as the more people know that they hold power and that they are really in control, the less control you give these external things, aka news, aka government, aka systems, and those systems, those governments start to lose power because you stand in the power knowing that I am not an infinite being that doesn't live under shackles, but I live a life of liberation. And that's where this work internally is what builds that for you.
Mhm.
Because when you hear as within, so without, until you're free internally, you can't be that outside of yourself. You're
Mhm.
always going to think something is holding you back. Someone is stopping your growth. Someone is in control. And that's going to keep you in this level of feeling small. And everything else and everyone else is so big, so
Mhm.
unreachable, so unattainable. But as you do the inner work, you start to realize, like, hell no, you can do it, I can do it too. You got it, I can get it too. And
Right.
you start to see the mirrors of possibilities versus feeling that those are things are impossible based on the program of what you've been taught mentally and what you believe emotionally. So I always like to break it down because through that awareness, now it's like I said, we're not villainizing anyone or anything. It's just the world that we knew that we were coming into.
Mhm.
We knew, and this may go over some heads, but I have to speak it. We chose to come into this world to share the gifts that we were given,
Mhm.
knowing that we would deal with all the things that we are, not the specific circumstances, but we knew we were going to deal with disempowerment by system. We knew that, but we knew that we held power.
Mhm.
And we were taught the opposite of that, but we knew that if we chose, that we can reconnect to the truth that's always been within us.
Mhm.
And through that, that's how we riffle out the expansion, the growth, the change that we want to see. And that's how we're not trying to preach, teach, or fight. We're just being it.
Mhm.
And what you be is what others will become through your example.
Yes. And Charlotte says we are the generation that needs to change it. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say we are the generation that gets to.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to. It could just keep rolling on. You feel me? But we get to change it. And just kind of continuing on this tip, I want to add that the disintegration of these systems and the way that they're functioning is not saying like there shouldn't be organization when it comes to people getting food or people getting health care or how schools operate. It's about shifting the consciousness of those structures, right? Like childcare is important, but the way we are currently taking on childcare and honestly the lack of it um, needs to shift. It gets to shift when we shift. And by doing that, our society will have shifted young people who turn into shifted adults, right? With the food system, food is abundant. Nature gives us food for free, y'all. Listen, I could go on a whole tangent with that. But when we open ourselves up to the abundance, when we open ourselves up to the worthiness and the availability, our food system structure will shift. The way that we receive groceries and nutrients and all of those things, they will be taken care of. With the medical system, yes, I was an accident prone child. Lots of scraped knees, fractured my thumb a couple times. It was like one time, but in any case, um, had different things. Got my teeth busted up, just playing around in the house. You feel me? Things need to get situated with the medical stuff. And the way that it functions can be actually for the betterment and the healing of people. But we need to make the choice as individuals to open up to that shift. It's not about fighting and taking people down. It's not about destroying systems and defunding people. It's about realizing with yourself, like, oh, I am worthy and capable of embracing abundance and wholeness and well being and all of the good things. And I have a divine service that I can offer to people, whether that is through like nursing or dentistry or a restaurant or farming, even, right? Childcare, you know, different making medicines, all these different things, massage therapy, okay, shout out.
Mm-hmm.
All these different things are available as gifts, and we choose them when we come into this world. Back to what Raymel was saying, and we know that with these gifts, we can support the shift. that makes the world more harmonious and less poisonous. Yeah, I just really wanted to bring that in there.
Yeah,
And
because
if,
there's a big shift happening.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? It does not get televised. When they say, like I grew up before or after this, like the revolution will not be televised type of thing. But it's a sentiment that stuck around. It still holds power. And when I think about that and how I am navigating the world and how I'm seeing good in the world and I'm feeling this shift and this change and this transformation, but then the times that I do happen to catch the news, it's just like, oh, this apartment building burned down, or these people are getting robbed, or I'm on social media and they're like political warfare, and people are saying this, and wars and drugs and death and all this stuff. I'm like, but people are healing. People are coming together. Like, beautiful things are happening. Where's this at? But it won't be televised,
But
right?
it doesn't fit the narrative that they are keeping alive.
Because it doesn't feed into the system as it is right now. And that's where, again, we get to choose. We get to choose. If you are somebody out there who is very into being like a journalist or a reporter or something, like start reporting on the good stuff. Find people who you can interview and, start a blog, start a podcast or something. You might be like, oh, there's already so many podcasts out here. That's the poison. That's the confusion. Trying to tell you, like, don't put your gift out there. Who's actually gonna watch this? Who's gonna pay attention? People only care about the drama. You gotta do the drama. You gotta do the tea. But that's not it. That's just what is accustomed. That is what is in cycle already. But when we, again, as individuals, choose to start doing something different, that cycle slows down
Mhm.
and it slows down. And eventually we'll get to a point where it's like, oh, this isn't how we operate anymore. Now we're doing this. Now we're sharing good news. Now we're sharing positivity. Now we're sharing optimism. Now we're giving hope. Now we're actually out here supporting and being generous with one another. And things start to be different. And that happens in our individual worlds first, because I can tell you, my life is beautiful.
Mhm.
I know, again, just so many different things going on in the world, but for me, not to be like separate, I'm like, that's over there. My world is beautiful. My world is beautiful. And I see beauty in the world and I see good in people. And I love it when I get to witness my inner vibration impact the world around me, because I get to see people choosing love instead of hatred. I get to see people being kind instead of being rude and being selfish. But that's not everybody's reality at this point. With an asterisk,
You know
because
what I just
it's
thought?
coming, it's here when we allow it to be. Yeah, go
I was thinking like how like, and I love how you like, my world is beautiful. My world is amazing. Though that may
ahead.
be going on, it's going. And what just came to mind is think of it like you're on Netflix.
Mm,
And you know how they have different categories. They have love, romance, comedy,
mm.
horror,
Drama.
drama. Every day you have a choice of what you're choosing to tune into.
Mm,
So today I may want to be in some comedy. It
mm,
doesn't mean that the romances don't exist. The
mm.
drama doesn't exist. The horror doesn't exist.
The
This is just what I'm
documentaries.
choosing to
Mm-hmm.
give my attention and focus to and to watch.
Mm,
Every day we have the choice of what we're choosing to tune into and to experience.
mm-hmm.
You don't have to always tune into the horror of sadness, of corruption and destruction. If you do, that doesn't mean that love doesn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
opportunities don't exist, oneness doesn't exist. It just means that this is what you want to choose on. But a lot of people don't know that they're holding the remote.
Mm, mhm,
So
mhm,
they just think that they wake up and the TV screen comes on and it's just a channel that they're stuck watching.
mhm,
But the remote has always and will always be in your hand.
mm,
A lot of time we're saying, here, government, take the remote, tell me what to watch. Here, news, take the remote, tell me what to believe and see. Here, family, take the remote, tell me how to feel.
That part.
Here, friends, take the remote, tell me what to believe in as far as possibilities. And then we're like, oh, I don't want to watch that. Why they got me watching this? I don't even want to. I don't even like this type of TV. I don't like this type of movie. Take your remote back.
That part.
Take your remote back, aka take your life back, aka take your mind back, aka take your belief system back, and start to take your creations back into being intentional with what you want to create. Your experience is dictated by what you choose to focus on. So you have the ability to watch any type of movie, series, documentary that you choose.
Yeah.
You don't have to be imprisoned by watching the same station, experiencing the same thing. That's insanity. And that's why the world is going crazy because they're watching the same thing, doing the same things, acting the same way, thinking things are going to change. Nothing's changing because no one's changing what they're focusing on. So I wanted to bring that because I feel like that would land in a way that they're like, well, shit, I don't want to watch the drama. Let me put it on some happiness.
And you know what? That brought up the visual, and I don't know if this was like, it's been used in a couple like films and TV shows and stuff where there's that person sitting in a chair, like strapped to a chair with their eyeballs peeled open, and just the TV is playing whatever, it's like a torture thing or whatever. And I feel like that's where many people feel like they are. Like they can't get up, they can't change the channel, they can't close their eyes. Like they just have to sit there and take in all of this destruction and pain and irritation and sadness. And I want to remind you, Boo, you free. Get up, close your eyes. Go sit into nature and talk to a tree with your mind and with your heart. Just sit and realize that is not your reality. That is not your reality. And the systems that are in play and the people who are benefiting from those systems, bless them. They want you to believe you're stuck in that chair with your eyes peeled open, taped open.
And they can keep feeding you what you don't even like to eat.
Knowing that you don't like to eat.
That's all you have available to eat.
And you think you just have to keep being here because of fear of.
I need to know what's going on. I need to know how to prepare. I need to know what's next.
Someone said to me recently, the best way to, they said that someone had told them, and it resonated with them, that the best way to prepare for peace is to prepare for war. And I let them have it. But on the inside, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because I have come to the understanding and the awareness that you get what you prepare for. You get what you expect. You get what you're focusing on. So all this time you're preparing for a war, where's peace in that? Where are you actually thinking about peace? Where are you actually desiring peace if you're preparing for war? How is Source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call that power, going to know that you want peace if you are preparing for war? If you're focused on war, if you're like, ooh, what different strategies can I get this person, and how can I defend myself, and all that stuff. Where's the me laying in a pasture with the flowers? Where's me sitting by the water and enjoying the sounds of the ocean? It's not there. So guess what? You ain't gonna get it. It's just gonna be something you're like, it just becomes a word at that point. Peace just becomes a word at that point. Love just becomes a word at that point. It's not actually the energy field that you're aiming for. And so I felt like that was really interesting and appropriate for this conversation as it's been unfolding, because, and it goes back to expectations, I guess, because again, if you're expecting war, if you're expecting confrontation, especially in the season of family gatherings, right? Like, oh, I already know if I talk about this, my cousin's gonna do this. I already know if I um, get this for this person, they're gonna react this way, and so is gonna be pissed off because I got them this. Playing all these little dramas, running all these Netflix series in our minds before things even happen. But guess what? We could choose the Love Channel. We can choose a love series where we say, I'm gonna do this act purely out of love. I'm gonna give this gift purely out of generosity. I'm going to call this person purely just for connection and just allow it to be good.
Mm.
Just allow it to be love. Just allow myself to be open to whatever unfolds. Because here's the thing, when we get so wrapped up and attached to our expectations, positive and negative, right? When things go differently, we're still attached
To what it should have been versus
to
what
what
it is.
right, to what we thought it was gonna be. And then, oh, but it's something different. But I can't let go of this. But it's like, I'm something different. Let me go. And you're like, no, no, no. When we learn that power of release and just allowing things to be, let it be. And then we have that freedom going forward because we are not attached to the good or the bad. Just like that phrase, this too shall pass. That goes for the good and the bad.
Mhm.
And what we label good and bad is based off of our own perception and our own opinions. But that's why it's so important that we just allow things to pass. Yes, have appreciation in the moment. Yes, have gratitude in the moment. Yes, enjoy things in the moment. Whatever the experience is, just it's like, oh, this was a moment. I do that often. I'm like, oh, this was a moment. And then I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little irritated, feeling a little disappointment. Okay, this was a moment.
Mhm.
And I allow myself to just let it be what it was, release it, and then go about my day. And yes, little memories might peek up, little triggers might come up, but that is a way of life saying, like, did you really clear this out? Did you really let this go? And then the triggers become like less and less, and something might remind you of it, but it won't trigger you because it's like,
Or it'll
oh,
be a new trigger for you. It'll be a trigger of happiness, of
yeah,
joy, of gratitude that I'm done with it versus the trigger of
absolutely.
sadness and anger and pain.
Absolutely. I love that you said that because it's like, oh, it can be like, oh, I remember when I was irritated about that, but praise.
Mhm. Look at
I'm
that growth. Growth,
look
I
at
see
yes,
you. I see you expanding out here. It'll trigger the
yes.
excitement of how far you've come
And celebrate
versus
yourself.
trigger where you're still stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes to that. Honestly, that's
Mhm.
because that's one of the most delicious things.
Is when you recognize your growth through the triggers because it's what
Mm-hmm.
triggers you, it's what shows you. I ain't affected by that. Come on
You're
now,
like,
growth.
you're
Come on
like,
now, expansion.
oh,
Come on now,
okay.
elevation.
You're like, yes, feeling myself.
And that's where for me, I know when I'm when I'm triggered in those ways of awareness to what I've grown from. That's how I know I've grown. It's
Mm.
not when it's only when I'm have an old type of experience that I'm no longer triggered by. I'm able to be triggered by the awareness, like, damn, you ain't over here popping. You actually chill. You calm. You
Did
relax.
good today.
You're not bothered. And that's where that shows you that this journey is working.
Mm-hmm.
Because the work that you do only will be reflected back to you based on experiences. We have to have experiences. I think, and I wanted to bring into what you were sharing, like in inviting them to like get out of your mind, go hug a tree, walk in nature. A lot of times we avoid that because a lot of us are afraid to be with ourselves if we're being truthful.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are so lost in those self-destructive thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
the pollution of what we're taking in from those different network systems and environments that To be with self is a fear for a lot of people.
Yes.
So they run, they avoid, they stay busy, they stay attached to being in things and situations so they don't, I don't know what that is, or being in situations that they're just in that place of always on the run. But when you're in the run, that means that you start to gain exhaustion.
Mm,
Through that exhaustion, you start to feel depleted.
mm,
I mean, I'm taking y'all on the path forward. A lot of people are feeling depressed because you're depleted.
mm.
Now you are feeling helpless, hopeless. Now you're stuck in this thing called depression
True.
because you have suppressed, repressed, depressed emotions that need to be expressed. And expression doesn't always have to be through words.
Mm.
You can express it through creativity,
Mm-hmm.
express it through dance, express it
Mm-hmm.
through song,
Yeah.
express it in whatever way that honors you. You can express those
That's so
emotions to where
true.
that depression starts to dissipate because you're getting it out of you and there's nothing holding you down and the
Yeah.
helpless, hopeless, sad, worry, angst, and now you're in the space of liberation. A lot of people, hey Sandra, a lot of people are feeling so disempowered and imprisoned
Mm.
by the lack of expression because they're stuck running, they're stuck hiding, they're stuck avoiding,
Mm.
but it's all stuck inside of you. So you're carrying
Mm.
all this weight that's keeping you down. And that's where I just really want to invite you all small practices.
Yeah.
Because everyone may
Yeah.
not be in a space to where you feel as though you're ready to commit. I won't ever say what you can't do because you can do anything you put your mind to.
Mm.
So I won't feed into that lie. But what you may not be ready to do, call it what it is. And that's how you're able to really find what works with you and meet you where you are versus expecting your beginning to be my middle or end, meaning I'm at 30-minute meditation, but you can barely do a minute.
Mm.
Do that minute.
Yeah.
If you need to practice breathing, 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out. You've
Mm.
done a practice.
Mm-hmm.
And those small little things, as I was saying earlier, they start to build momentum. It starts to become a rhythm. It starts to become a practice. And that's where now you start to get into the space of having a reference of what it feels like
Mm.
to honor a feeling,
Yes.
to regulate your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
to get out of the chatter of your mind. You start to get into the familiarness of that. And now you're starting to know, like, okay, you start to see those shifts and changes. But if you are in that place of avoidance and you're hiding and you're running, you're going to keep catching up to yourself, having to face what you're not releasing from within yourself. Because life is always going to, what you run from, it will always catch you. Whether you're running from paying your bills, having those conversations,
Mm-hmm.
feeling the feels, like life is going to be like, okay, let me give you a big eye-opening experience to show you that you got to pay this. Let me
Mm-hmm.
bring this heartfelt, hurtful situation that shows you that you need to address this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, depending on the lens you're seeing it by or seeing it through, you're either going to say, oh, why is this always happening to me? Why can't I catch a break? Or are you going to be like, thank you, life, for teaching me.
Yeah.
Thank you, life, for showing me what I wasn't willing to see.
Mm.
And then you're able to see how
Mm.
life is really for you. When they say that, it truly is true.
Mm-hmm.
But what lens are you seeing it through allows you to really see the truth in that.
Mm.
Because you can be lost in a lie that you're the victim. You can play that damn role and character to the best of your ability. And so a lot of people need Oscars and Academy Awards because they play it like the best there's ever has been ever been played. But then you can be the victor.
Yeah.
And that may be a new character that you got to learn how to play.
Mm-hmm.
But through practice, learning the script is I am a powerful creator. I am the victor. I am dot, dot, dot. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how the mind starts to know the default script that this character of Victor plays.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to embody that new character. with who you be, how you show up. You start to do that. You can do that today.
Yes.
You can do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
See, we think, well, let me wait until 2025 and then I'm gonna start being a victor. I'm gonna just stop. Okay, after 2025, January 1st, 2025, I
No
am no
more
longer
victim for
gonna be
me.
the victim of my life. And that's it. Come January 3rd, why is life always against me? I thought this was gonna be my year of victory, but it starts now.
Mm-hmm.
It starts today. Small implementations creates more momentum of bigger manifestations.
Mm. Yes. And I really appreciate this conversation today. And I really, hmm, just that idea of small, starting just moment by moment, bit by bit, because I can promise you I was not always in this place. I was not always default, take a breath, acknowledge my emotions, speak my truth with clarity. I was not always this person. It was definitely a time when I felt like none of this was attainable.
Mm,
I really felt like life was just this cycle of irritation and frustration and disappointment until I died. And I've heard quite a few people recently, and maybe it's like just because it's life is like showing me, um, but people saying like we're all afraid of death and we all fear this. That wasn't my reality. I had a very romanticized idea of death. I really felt like it would be a relief, like a release from all of these challenging things going on. And when I heard like motivation and inspiration and stuff, it just it I was so cynical. Like my lens was so darkened, and it literally took me almost ending my own life for me to try to even try. And I'm a jump in the deep end kind of girl, so I did like really put my foot on the gas when I decided I was going to give this a go. And even during that season when I was just first starting this journey in 2017, there were moments where I felt like, yeah, I was right. This stuff is lame, it's fake, it doesn't actually work. But then I would run back into that rock bottom where I'm like, well, I don't have nothing else to try, right? Like I literally tried every other kind of drug and drinking all types of whiskey and tequilas, and none of that is working. So I gotta just keep trying this. And eventually I began to embrace that small bit by bit, those little moments by moments, just choosing to breathe, choosing to honor and embrace that I felt feelings, knowing that even during that season, if I didn't have people who I felt comfortable expressing my emotions with, I didn't feel safe around, I could still be a safe space for myself.
mm,
So I just really want to make sure that you all know and are hearing. It doesn't have to be jumping into an hour long meditation. You don't have to go through somebody sent me a link, and actually I might look into it for this 10-day meditation. It's called Vipassana. And it's like 10 days and you're just like no talking, just meditating.
I've heard of something similar to that.
Yeah. But you don't have to just go do that.
That's too deep in that.
That's very
For
deep.
some.
That's very deep. You can just start with taking 2 minutes at the beginning of your day just to sit and breathe. And if that's too long, just take 3
60
breaths.
seconds.
Right. However long feels like I can do this. I'm not here for a whole 45-minute meditation, but I can sit for 10 seconds and just allow myself to breathe and to be. And you will be pleasantly surprised by how the progress of that creeps up on you.
Mhm.
One day you will be, thank you, Charlotte. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Charlotte.
I'll see you next week. But you'll be sitting there, and you're like, okay, I'll be here for 10 seconds. But then you look at your phone afterwards, and you're like, oh, it's been 5 minutes. I really enjoyed being in the space today. I was really able to hold myself today. And then you'll be like, okay, maybe I'll try 5 minutes now. And then you'll do 5 minutes, and then your alarm or whatever go off, or you'll just kind of go into a zone. You'll be like, oh, it's been 15 minutes. And it really just does build because it feels good.
Mhm.
It really does regulate your body and put you into a state of homeostasis. And that is the natural state of the body. That is the natural state of our being, is to be in peace, is to be in love, and not in all of this chaos and hatred and cynicism. And so I just really wanted to make sure that you all get this,
Mm.
because it is that moment by moment, that day by day, those seconds, those little things, and they add up.
Mhm.
And they add up, and you have the full capacity, capability, ability to do it. It's just about making the choice. And I really want to encourage you to say yes to that choice, because you will certainly thank yourself for it down the road. Yeah.
Oh, and the reason why we're inviting you to do the small steps, the little, just tiny movements, is because once the mind has evidence of results of your actions, now it's approving it.
Yeah.
Now it's excited to do it again. So that's where, in a sense, you're now reprogramming your mind to know a new thing from a new form of action that you've taken. And after you've done that small step, whether it's 60 seconds of meditation, whether it's you breathing when you feel frustrated and just honoring the breath that wants to be released so the energy can pass through, whether it's you committing to something and doing it, like, celebrate it. Because what you celebrate gets repeated.
Yes.
So after you committed the 60 seconds, minute, 2 minutes to whatever the practice is that you want to start implementing, celebrate it. Look at me out here doing, keeping my word, doing what I said. Like, and now you're excited because you want that feeling of celebration from the action you've taken.
Yes.
And now you start to get into this excitement and anticipation. Like, okay, so what's the next thing I'm gonna do? Because I want that feeling again. Y'all, we think we want these physical things that we're chasing and in the pursuit of, but we want the feeling. That's really what we all want. We don't want the physical. The physical is just an illusion of the feeling that we're vibrating at. So once we get into the practice of the feeling of conquering and taking action of things that we said we're going to do, committing to the practices, doing the technique, learning the thing, now we start to get this high of wanting more of that feeling of self love, self care, self empowerment, self development. And that's how you start to empower yourself. And anything that isn't in alignment with that, it doesn't honor the feeling that your body is now familiar and used to. So you're no longer dishonoring yourself because it doesn't feel in alignment with what brings you joy and excitement. You're not pulling yourself into toxic environments and situations because it's not honoring the feelings of the love and embrace that you've created in the spaces that you're in. And that's how you're no longer, when you're in the tug of war, pulling back, being pulled back into old habits and ways. And now you're being pulled by new things that are in align with your expansion and growth. We are giving y'all a lot of gems in this live today. I hope that this is being received. I invite everyone to watch this over and over and over and over again because what's coming through, that's why it's no coincidence no one's joined up because it's just meant for us to share. And I'm receiving this message that Sister Angelique and I are being open vessels to allow this to come through. Because as it's coming out, I'm like, this is a whole masterclass we giving y'all today.
Yeah.
It's a whole masterclass, but that's the beauty of when you're in the space of really allowing yourself to be that open vessel. You're excited to share this. You're excited to give this to others because you know the power that this holds. My truly wish for you all is that you don't let these go through one ear and go out the other. And that you really take the time to practice what we're saying, the small steps, because that's really how you start to break through those doubts, those limitations, unworthiness, self-judgment, all those things that have been keeping you hostage. You start to break free from them by doing these small little implementations.
Yes.
You can talk about what you're going to do, you can read all the things, but it's not until you're in the practice that you start to see things shift and change in your life. You hold that power, you hold the pen, you hold the key. But if you are stuck in, I'm going to get to it, I don't have time for it, I'm too busy, or whatever the excuse the mind tells you, you're going to be in the same space and place, wondering why things outside of you are not looking anything other than what they've been. So we're really giving you all a lot. And we're doing it with excitement and joy because this is really what brings me joy. It's to share, share, share. And I just trust who is meant to be received by and who will take action with it. That's you. And I've done my part to release what needs to come through for me.
Same here. Same here. And we definitely appreciate when you do come up, when you do comment. We're rolling at the end of our time here, so next time catch us. But yeah, I do feel like this was something that Spirit was calling us to just kind of communicate today. I didn't expect to have that moment. We don't really plan things out like that. We're just, what are we going to talk about today? Oh, we're going to talk about expectations. Okay. And then we just allow it to flow. And I really want to absolutely, we appreciate you. Put some of this love into your dinner. But I was like remembering how we just were like, yeah, we're gonna start this conversation series. And you can do that too. You can decide like, oh, I want to be in this space and hold this space and have this community conversation with people. Like, I'm enthusiastic about what I've been learning and I want to share. That is totally available to you. That is 100% available to you. And again, that goes back to what Charlotte has said about we are the generation that gets to make a change. We get to. If you feel called to do this and this like is pulling at your heart or exciting your spirit, try it out. And it doesn't have to be a whole hour and a half. You just want to hop on for 5 minutes and just talk about something that you were inspired by or challenged by or healing through. Do that. The world could really use it.
And even if you don't want to or feel called to do it on social, do it in your community.
Yes.
Do it in your spaces. Do it in your family. Do it in your homes. Like
at your church.
you can do it at any space that you feel aligned with and feel pulled and called to. But the important thing is just do it.
Yeah.
When we started this, Sister Angelique had an idea. She's like, I want to collaborate. I want to, like, and I'm like, and the thing is, I'm always going to say yes to certain people now. Like, I used to be Mr. Yes, and we're like, why the hell did I sign up for this? Just saying. But we didn't know what this would be.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, like, in a sense, Sister Angelique wanted it to be more people come in person and we have the round table type of talk. And we just started, I'm like, well, let's just use social media right now just to see what we could start to build up.
Mm-hmm.
And we see like, okay, well, we're building an audience, we're building a tribe through social,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll bleed into the other spaces that we're meant to expand it upon. But we build the momentum by showing up every Saturday
Mm-hmm.
and just where you at, where you at, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And that just allows it to be the riffle of like someone else is dealing with that, someone else needs to hear that, someone else is growing through that, and that's how we're collectively healing together through speaking about it.
Mm-hmm.
As we've seen, Sister Angelique had that moment of feeling that emotion as she was expressing the darkness that she was experiencing on her journey, and that heals because that emotion it's still needing to be released.
Yeah.
And it's not until you allow yourself that openness and that willingness to even express it that you like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just honor it.
Yeah.
That's literally when we say feel your feeling, you just seen an example.
Mm-hmm.
A feeling of sadness and whatever other feelings that were activated within her was coming up. And she didn't be like, oh no, I don't want to do this. I'm not gonna do this. She was honoring it
Mm-hmm.
while still expressing. That's literally the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It didn't need a heavy cry or boo cry. It didn't need that.
Didn't
we
need the
just
Oscar for this one.
no, we're just showing you because there's so many simple ways
Yeah.
to do what we're sharing and inviting you all to do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be that, oh, I need to be in a private space and secluded space in order to express or feel this emotion. It can be simple as I'm sharing, I'm just allowing,
Yeah.
and then I've released.
Mm-hmm.
And may I ask, as you felt that feeling, what did you go back to, your natural state?
Like where I am now.
Well, like as you were feeling the feelings as you were sharing that darkness, you honored it, and then you probably went back into like,
Yeah, and here's the thing, it wasn't just sadness in the way that I'm like, oh, I had this dark season of my life. There was also gratitude there because I was, here comes the emotions again because it stems from gratitude because I'm grateful that I have committed to myself with these practices, with these ideas, and not just push them off and brush them off. And there also is a bit of tenderness there. I guess sadness doesn't feel like the proper word.
yeah.
But there's also a bit of tenderness there for that person who I was and how, and I guess in that moment, I was just feeling like I was embracing her. Like, I'm like, we really have come a distance. You've really been out here doing your work, and not just for yourself by yourself, but you've allowed yourself to open up and be here on this live, honoring your feelings, sharing your story, being vulnerable. You also wrote a book. You feel me? You're also speaking. You're also coaching. You're also doing all these different things with the young people and holding space for them to have their feelings. Like, it's just been this beautiful ripple. Yeah, it's just been this beautiful ripple out into the world where I had to choose it and try it myself first. That one little thing at a time. And again, a lot of what was coming up for me was that just gratitude and tenderness that I allowed myself to choose myself. And even when it didn't feel like it was working or I couldn't find people who I could talk about this stuff with or trust, I just knew I had to keep choosing myself. And I'm just so deeply grateful for that. But yeah.
Yeah. We're
Yeah,
at our time.
this was such a powerful, beautiful conversation, and it's such a gift and such an honor to do what I do what we do, have this space, have these conversations, and just be of support in whatever way it may be for whoever's receiving it, because it's my responsibility to get it out, but it's not my responsibility who takes it in. And as long as I've showed up and done what I have committed to do, I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling empowered, and I'm feeling confident in the knowing that it's gonna land and where it's meant to.
Yes. We love you guys.
We love y'all. We thank y'all so very much. It's the heart. Oh, that. Oh,
I
got
think
the
you just have to
heart.
hold it for like 45 seconds.
Look at you, got the heart. Look, hey, come on. IG, give me my heart. Give me my heart. I didn't give it to me. All right, y'all. We love y'all. We thank y'all. And we will see you all next week for another healing conversation. And until then, see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
We definitely, that was like